Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the moderator for Challenges in India for Non-Majority Faiths, President and CEO, Global Christian Relief, David Curry, with panelists, co-founder NSAF, Sukhman Dami, Senior Editor, The Wire, Arfa Khanum, Founder, Northeast India Women Initiative for Peace, Beena Nepram, and Archdiocese of Madras Mylapore, Father Christu Rajan.
Thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here with these wonderful people. Please have a seat. We're going to jump right into the conversation. Global Christian Relief has a violence index that ranks India, surprisingly, as one of the most violent areas for religious minorities. And we want to talk about that environment that we see rising, that rising disquiet in such a beautiful country, such a great culture. And I want to start with Arfa Khanum. We're so grateful for you. You're the senior editor at The Wire. Give us an overview of what you see are the challenges for non-majority faiths in India.
First of all, thank you very much for having this session focused on India. Well, I was listening to a few panelists yesterday, and it was heartwarming for me to hear that religion could also be part of the solution, not just problem. I thought we've been practicing this in India for centuries, not just independent India, and we were some kind of a model state for the world, especially for the Western world, that how, despite many religious, caste, religion, linguistic differences, it worked out fine for us. So we became a model state, but this was only until the state started to adopt a religion for itself.
Yes.
So our constitution literally says that we are a secular liberal constitution, which means the state does not have a religion. But in the past 10 years, in one decade, we've seen that now, and interestingly, we are talking about religious freedom in India when just 24 hours ago, India observed the day of assassination for the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. And the ideology that is responsible for the assassination of Mahatma and the people, the organization, they are ruling India right now. So I feel this is the moment of triumph for Hindu majoritarianism in India. And I think since the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi in 1948, we have now the gravest threat to secularism, to religious freedom in India. I see, if quickly I can just go forward, there are three major markers, I feel, which are responsible for the state of affairs in India right now, three major markers for religious freedom. One is the introduction of a law called Citizenship Amendment Act, which fast-tracks applications from three neighboring countries where the minorities are persecuted, except Muslims. So this goes against the secular spirit of the Constitution. Second is to withdraw the status of special status from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and also to demote it now and made it union territory, which means directly controlled by the Delhi, and taking away autonomy from relative autonomy from the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And remind you that this is the only Muslim majority state in India. And number three is now the opening of the Ram temple. Of course, I fully understand that this was, the court allowed it. This temple is now being built on the same spot where there is a medieval mosque which stood for 500 years.
That's right.
And which was brought down by party workers, supporters of Mr. Modi in 1992. So now he's become now part of this whole worship. He became the host of this whole puja. And he did not look like a leader of 1.4 billion people. Rather, I would say, a Hindu king. So I would say these three things, three important markers, they define what India looks like right now. And this was not possible without demoting Muslims to the status of second-class citizenship.
Right. So this is a big shift. It's a cultural shift, and I think many in the West are struggling to catch up. Everybody here represents a different region. You have people from the South and North. Beena, you come from the Northeast. And you see what's happening with indigenous people who have indigenous faiths. Talk a little bit about what you've observed.
Yes. First of all, I want to pay my respects to our esteemed panelists, our esteemed chair, and to 1,200 people who have registered, and those watching online in my Manipuri language, Mayam Mutaramna Okchari. I pay my obeisance to each and every one of you here. I also acknowledge the Natochkank and the Piscataway people on whose land we stand. I pay my respects to elders, past and present, to be able to do this work. And sincere thanks to the Lantos Foundation and IRF for this. Having said this, absolutely, my appeal today to each one of you here is do not see India in the binary. Black and white, Muslim, Hindus, Christians. India is a land of 1.3 billion people, speaking over like more than hundreds of languages. And it is one of the most multicultural, diverse part of our country. But most of the statements that you see outside is about two religions. So I come from the indigenous faith. I was born in the indigenous family in Manipur. All my schooling was in a Christian Catholic convent school, Little Flower School. I read the Quran. I networked with the Baha'is, worshiped in the Quaker home. I was able to find solace in churches when I came here, as well as the libraries of America, which I call living rooms. So to be very honest, having come from a diverse background, to see what is happening in terms of international religious freedom is something that we got to fight. Now, having said this, India has almost 80% Hindus, almost 14% Muslims, 6% Christians, Sikhs, Jains. But we also have one group, which is called other religion and persuasion, which I doubt many of us know about it. So in which the faith that my parents brought me up, Sanamai, my family suffered religious persecution. In the 19th century, my grandfather was banished for 10 years for resisting a faith and standing by our indigenous faith in Manipur. I have seen how my own family have suffered through this. So having said this, I would like to share in terms of where I come from. I would like, David, if you allow me, to have a moment's silence for over 200 people in Manipur who have been killed in an attack for the last 9 months, and 20,000 people who have been killed and 1,526 massacred in my home state in the last 20 to 30 years.
Okay, let's do that right now. Let's take a moment, the silence in honor of those who have been injured, killed, attacked in Manipur.
I thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
I thank you.
Bina, thank you so much for highlighting something that we need to remember, which is this is about freedom of religious expression for everyone, everywhere, not just the largest groups or the ones that can get the attention. This is terribly important. The issue of justice, I want to ask you this, Sukhman, as the co-founder of NSOF, that's really about justice. The word literally means justice. What do you see in these minority, or however you want to turn that phrase around, the not majority faiths, regarding the justice and these attacks and what's happening to respond to them?
Firstly, thank you for organizing this timely and important conversation. It's my privilege to be on this panel with such other courageous voices, and thank you for your question. Unfortunately, India has become a country where persecution based on faith is a consistent feature. And we all know when this persecution de facto becomes endorsed by the state, it can often arise to much more serious crimes, such as crimes against humanity. And that has very much been the focus of my work leading the organization INSAF, where we've documented well over 5,000 incidents of extrajudicial executions and enforced disappearances of Sikhs and other minorities, predominantly in the state of Punjab, which is the context of my work. We've also seen an entrenched culture of impunity arise over the decades for these atrocity crimes. Because of this culture of impunity, we see a continuing replication of persecution and gross human rights violations, not only in Kashmir, but in other places that are controlled by India, and security forces have gone on to commit widespread and systematic atrocities in places like Kashmir, in the northeast, and other parts of India. We've endeavored to document these atrocities and hold officials accountable However, because of the impunity, because of the culture of impunity, we've actually seen not only further atrocities in India, but also an expansion of India's targeting of minorities outside of its borders.
That's right. So, I mean, just imagine that you're so confident that you're not going to be prosecuted, that many of them are posting the attacks on social media themselves. And now, as you mentioned, there's this transnational aggression which is happening outside the borders. And we have some documented proof about this. Talk about those cases.
Well, recently, just a few months ago, a secret memo that originated from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, signed by the secretary, outlined the individuals and organizations that India was targeting as part of a global assassinations program. And this wasn't a mere words written on paper. We now know that 6 have been assassinated in Pakistan, in Canada. There's been a suspicious death in the United Kingdom. We know that there's also been an assassination plot targeting 6 in the United States that has been uncovered. And there's a prosecution presently underway in New York. We also know that the German prosecutors in the last couple of years have been prosecuting Indian agents for spying on Sikh diaspora and Kashmiri communities. And so India has in fact been emboldened by the fact that it has been able to get away with atrocity crimes in India, and has now taken those same practices of targeted killings and has felt that it has a license to kill with impunity internationally.
Yeah, for our relationship with Western institutions and India to be strong, it has to be based on shared values, understanding of human rights, and this is a very challenging idea. I want to, Father Rejan, I want to ask you about this, some of what you're doing in the South to build community amongst faiths, because there has to be a process where we know each other, give each other the benefit of the doubt, build relationship. Talk a little bit about that, and also what you see is the targeting of minority faiths in your region.
Thanks, David. A very good morning to all my brothers and sisters here. And it's a big honor to be part of this IRF summit. I thank all those who have welcomed me here. Well, I come from South India, a relatively peaceful region, not like Northeast or Northern India. But the thing is that we see I am a Roman Catholic priest as well as a human rights lawyer. So for last almost 10 years, we continuously see some attack on the Indian Constitution. So we see that it's a war between two ideologies. One guaranteed by the Indian Constitution, which gives justice for all, promoting fraternity, equality, and liberty. Another ideology which doesn't believe in equality. And they believe in a caste system which doesn't promote liberty or fraternity. So the fight is going on for quite some time. And now the present situation is too scary that we need to stand up to protect the noble values in the Constitution. They are, like Dr. Ambedkar, a famous man of that constitutional expert, has given us, guaranteed us these fundamental rights after so many years of slavery. And now the minorities enjoyed so far, at least last 70 years, because India remains a secular country. But that is now a jeopardy. It's a very big question mark. And they say that, my friends from the other side, they say that we have already formed a new constitution. And if that comes to effect, then there won't be voting rights for Christians, Muslims, or other minority communities. So such kind of rumors everywhere in the society, so people are forced to live in fear. So there is a clear formula for them. Like first they create some sort of rumors, and then they come with intimidation, and then physical attacks. So even in South India, where we see that a relatively calm area, where at least within 2-3 months, more than 100 cases are filed because they disturb the prayer services conducted in a peaceful manner. And the physical attacks are less than Northern India, but still, the situation seems to be getting worse day by day.
Yeah. When you get these reconciliation, in that environment, when you get the reconciliation groups together, what is the power of that?
Yes, so in South, like I represent the Tamil Nadu state, where we have almost 80 million people, and the Roman Catholic Church has taken a lead to spread the constitutional values throughout not only the church, but also to the society. And I am a member of Social Harmony Federation, where we try to bring Muslims, Hindus, Christians, and even our friends, non-believers, together, and we have formed the Social Harmony Federation. And also as a pioneer in the Justice and Peace wing of the Tamil Nadu Bishops' Council, that we are able to promote this social harmony through various courses of trainings and also forming unity groups among these neglected masses. So far, they had no say in the governments or anything. So we try to promote this amity and unity, which is the fundamental right guaranteed in the Constitution. So the diocese, all the dioceses have taken a lead in promoting this common good. That's what our Pope has given very clearly through the Fratelli Tutti. The message he says that you had to come together, walk together, journey together, in spite of differences between caste, color, religion, language, sex,
Yes.
So despite all these things, you see the common good in the society, and it is high time to stand up, because I would like to say a quote from my Tamil language, where it says that why I value IRF, because God, after looking at his people, what they are doing in the country, that he says, I have given them stones to build bridges. With that stones, they are building walls to separate each other.
Yes.
Now it is high time to demolish those walls and build bridges. So that's what we are doing.
In the moments remaining, maybe we'll just ask each of you, I'll start with you, Bina. Yes. What is being done, if anything, to build bridges in the Northeast that you know about?
Absolutely, David. I thought coming from father would be quite natural just to speak. Since 2010, we started the Northeast India Women Initiative for Peace. The Northeast is a very geostrategic area, if some of you have been there or not. It's land to 45 million people, we are just below China, next to Myanmar, sharing borders with 5 countries, Bhutan, Nepal, Burma, Bangladesh, China. We only share what is called 11 miles with India, called Chicken Necks Corridor. So this is a home to 272 beautiful ethnic groups, speaking over 400 languages, which should be a national geographer's paradise. So if you don't know this region, if you have enjoyed British breakfast tea, it didn't come from England, it came from my region. The first oil of India was dug there. Now, the point is, this diversity, 45 million people's history is not in the textbooks of our country. First, include the history of diverse people in our country to be able to understand each other.
Yes.
That people in the Northeast, even in Manipur, we do not understand each other because our histories have been blanked out from the consciousness of the world's largest democracy. We want that to happen. Secondly, the women of all the ethnic groups in the Northeast and Indo-Burma border need to unite to work to ensure the peace and the justice that is deserved. There are 17 peace talks in India's Northeast, and not a single woman is in it. You exclude 50% of the population, then how can we get peace in India's Northeast? How can we get peace in Manipur? Right now, David, my final point. Right now, everything is weaponized. Our identity is weaponized. Our religion is weaponized. Our homes are weaponized. Our politics is weaponized. How can we build a world, a society with guns? We have to do, nation building has to be done with a lot of love. If you are parents
I'm going to interrupt you there because I want to make sure but your points are well taken.
Yeah.
What do you see about on this idea of Are people coming together to build bridges, or are we still segmented?
I appreciate what Bina is saying, but the ugly reality of the day is that the government of India is siding with majority religion in Manipur, and the loss of lives that we've seen, more than 200 people getting killed, and there's so many people who are homeless now. It's because the government of India is siding with the majority religion. So they have created enemies. Yes. The major enemy right now and the anti-national people are the Muslims of India, but even Christians, I would say, they come on number 2. So I think we really need to underline this, and it's also a moment of anxiety and fear for someone like me that we have elections now in just next few days. And if it's Mr. Modi comes back and his party comes back to power, I feel 200 million people, the way they have lived in a state of anxiety is only growing. Many of the things that we are seeing right now, the state persecution, which people like to call as communal violence. It's not communal violence. Let's call it what it is. It is state persecution of Indian Muslims and sometimes of Christians also. But right now, it is the Indian Muslims who are the clear-cut enemy. I feel he might try to formalize this whole the status of second-class citizenship to Indian Muslims, and he might try to change constitution in fundamental ways. It'll be difficult for us and for the global community to recognize that it is the same country of Gandhi and Nehru and the country of their dreams. So I feel it's really important to underline how the government is colliding with the majority religion, whether it is in the mainland or it is in the northeast in Manipur.
Well, I think that's going to have to be the last word. Would you please thank our panel here today for their feedback? So appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.